Right now, while you're watching this video, the temperature in your attic is probably between 140 and 160 degrees Fahrenheit. If you live in Texas, Arizona, or anywhere in the South, it could be higher. That superheated air is sitting just inches above your bedroom ceiling. It's radiating heat down into your living space 24 hours a day. It's pushing your air conditioner to run constantly. It's responsible for somewhere between 40 and 60% of your summer electric bill. And there is a $7 fix that solves it, that's been around since 1820, that every working contractor knows about, and that almost none of them will ever mention when they walk through your home with a quote. I'm Bob, and welcome to When the Lights Go Out. Subscribe and hit the bell, because when the modern world stops working, you want to know this stuff before you need it. Last summer, I was on a job site in suburban Ohio. The homeowner had bought a place built in 2016. Standard subdivision construction. 2 stories, asphalt shingle roof, vented attic, supposedly. He was paying $440 a month to keep the upstairs at 78 degrees, while outside it was 93. His upstairs bedroom still felt hot. His master bedroom was unusable from 2 in the afternoon until well after sunset. He called me out to look at the insulation in the attic, thinking maybe there wasn't enough. I climbed up there with a thermometer at 3 in the afternoon. The attic temperature read 158 degrees, almost no airflow. The 2 small vents the builder installed were partially blocked by insulation pushed into them by the original install crew. The radiant heat coming off the underside of the roof deck was strong enough that I could feel it through the back of my shirt. That superheated air was cooking the entire upper floor of the house, every single hot day, for 9 years. What the house needed was simple: proper venting at the gable ends, clear soffit intakes along the eaves, a radiant barrier under the rafters. Total materials cost about $230. 3 days later, with no other changes to the house, his attic temperature at 3 in the afternoon read 95 degrees, 63 degrees cooler. His next electric bill dropped $190. The upstairs bedrooms became usable. He stopped running the upstairs zone of his system after dinner because the heat wasn't pressing down anymore. Annual savings, calculated against his old bills, close to $2,300. That fix exists because the physics behind it has been understood since at least 1820, when American colonial builders were finishing the standard practices that produced the brick row houses of Philadelphia and the wooden farmhouses of the Hudson Valley. They didn't have air conditioning. They didn't have insulation. What they had was understanding of how hot air moves through a building. The principle is called the stack effect. Hot air rises. That's the entire foundation. In any enclosed space, the hottest air collects at the highest point. In your house, that's the peak of your attic. If you give that hot air a way to escape, a vent at the highest point of the roof, or near the peak of the gable wall, it leaves. As it leaves, it pulls cooler air in through lower openings. The whole system runs by itself with no fan, no power, no moving parts. Build it right, and your attic temperature stabilizes within 20 to 25 degrees of outside air. Build it wrong, or do not build it at all, and your attic becomes an oven that radiates downward into your home. Colonial builders built it right by accident, then by tradition. They put cupolas on their barns and large gable vents on the ends of their houses. By the 1890s, factory-made whirlybird turbine vents were standard on almost every commercial building in America. By the 1930s, every single-family home built in the South had passive attic ventilation specified by code. Then, air conditioning arrived, and the building industry made a decision that nobody talks about. They started building tighter, cheaper houses with smaller and fewer attic vents on the assumption that mechanical air conditioning would compensate. It does compensate, at a cost that runs 40 to 60% of your summer electric bill every single year for the entire life of the house. The numbers behind this are not vague. The Department of Energy publishes data on attic temperature impact on cooling load. A poorly vented attic can drive your air conditioning system to consume up to 70% more energy than the same house with proper ventilation. The Oak Ridge National Laboratory has documented this in field studies going back to the 1980s. The Florida Solar Energy Center has measured radiant barrier installations, cutting attic temperatures by 40 to 50 degrees in real homes. None of this is theoretical. None of this is suppressed. It is published. It is just not on the quote your roofing contractor hands you. Here is what is actually happening on a job site. And I want to be honest with you about this because I have been one of those contractors. When a roofing company comes out to replace your roof, the conversation focuses on shingles, underlayment, and warranty. Ventilation gets one line on the estimate, if it gets one at all. Most installers default to whatever minimum the building code requires, and the building code minimum is often barely above zero. A roofer who properly assesses and upgrades attic ventilation as part of the job adds $200 to $400 to the bid. The competing roofer who skips that line wins the job, so nobody mentions it. Insulation contractors do the same thing. The conversation focuses on R value, blown in versus bat, and price per square foot. Nobody talks about the fact that even the best insulation in the world becomes much less effective when the attic above it is sitting at 150 degrees. The insulation slows the heat transfer, but it does not stop it. Get the attic below 95 degrees, and the same insulation suddenly performs the way the manufacturer claims it does. And the air conditioning industry is $174 billion annually in the United States. The bigger the cooling load on the house, the larger the equipment they sell, the more service calls they get, and the more refrigerant recharges and compressor replacements they make over the life of the system. Every contractor in that supply chain has a quiet, structural incentive to leave attic ventilation alone. None of them benefit when your house cools itself for free. So, what does the solution actually look like? And how much does it really cost? There are 4 pieces, and they range from almost free to a few $100s total. The simplest piece is gable in ventilation, louvered openings in the triangular wall at each peak of the house. A pair of these costs about $15 at any hardware store. Colonial builders installed them by default. Modern builders often install one that is half the size it should be, or skip them entirely. Next is soffit ventilation, the airflow openings under the eaves. Most homes have them. Most are partially or fully blocked by insulation that was installed without baffles. Clearing them costs nothing but an afternoon. The third piece is a turbine vent, the spinning aluminum cap visible on commercial buildings and older farmhouses. Wind passing over the blades creates a low pressure zone that actively pulls hot air out of the attic. A single turbine vent runs $30 to $70 and can move 1,000 cubic feet of air per minute on a breezy day. The fourth piece is a radiant barrier under the rafters, a thin aluminum-faced material that reflects 95% of incoming radiant heat back toward the roof before it can enter the attic. A roll covering most of an average attic costs about $80. The Florida Solar Energy Center has documented this single addition cutting attic temperatures by 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit on its own. Combined, the total investment for a typical American home runs between $200 and $600 in materials. Annual savings on a southern home with a working air conditioner run between $800 and $2,500. The payback period is less than 1 summer. The fix outlasts the roof, and every piece of it is sitting on the shelves at Home Depot, Lowe's, and Tractor Supply right now. The colonial Americans who built the houses still standing in Philadelphia, and Charleston solved this 200 years ago. The Florida Solar Energy Center documented the modern version of it 40 years ago. The Department of Energy publishes the data right now. The fix is at every hardware store in the country. Every contractor I have ever worked with knows what I just told you. Almost none of them will mention it on the next quote you get. The kind of knowledge that matters most when the modern world stops working is not complicated. It has just been quietly priced out of the bid. Your attic is one of the biggest energy leaks in any American home, but it's not the only one. The next biggest is the wall facing the afternoon sun, which absorbs radiant heat all day and releases it into your home through the night. There is a $50 fix for that wall, invented in the Persian desert 4,000 years ago, that drops indoor temperatures by 25 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the next video. Subscribe to When the Lights Go Out. Watch the next video appearing on your screen right now.